We go live. Nah, we're not doing the countdown. We're not doing the countdown. I did it wrong.
Butchered that.
What I've
completely butchered it.
What I normally do is I do the countdown, then we go live. What I've done there is I've gone live and then try to start the countdown. So the sequencing is all wrong for me. Start off.
Welcome, dear viewers.
At least you didn't have Ed talking through the whole countdown.
Exactly. I just didn't want that. Yeah.
I was trying to think what I could say.
Yeah.
I'm really sorry. Do you want me to do the countdown and then you can think of something?
No.
Okay, let's just skip the countdown.
Moment's gone.
The moment's gone. I'm so sorry. It's because we haven't been live for a whole week. I've just completely forgotten how we do things on the Early Bar Football Podcast. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Anyway, welcome back to the Early Bar Football Podcast. This is episode 25, maybe?
Great age.
Stop it.
Quarter of a century.
Quarter of a century of podcasts. What a journey it's been. Chris is here. Hello, Chris. Chris's moustache is here.
Oh, it's superb, isn't it? It's superb.
It is. Give me a second. Let me get it on the big screen. That's me. Give me a second. There it is.
Good.
Yeah, bring it in.
Simply.
That's lovely, Chris. How are you, Chris? Okay.
Yeah, I'm not too bad, thank you. Not too bad. I had a lovely week. Spent a week seeing Owen up where he lives, so good to see him in person and that. And
Who?
Owen.
The guy who used to host this podcast.
Yeah.
Owen.
And yeah, scoring goals as well for Spartan. I'm scoring goals at the minute.
Yeah. You beat another village at the weekend, didn't you?
We actually beat a town. We beat Carton Town FC 2-1.
Oh, that's huge.
And scored a 25-yard screamer. But I'll let Ginge talk to you more about that.
Oh, 25 yards. Is that hyperbole? I don't know. We'll find out when we get over to Jack.
Own goal, wasn't it?
25 feet.
Anyway, from a mustache man to a non-mustache man. Hello, Ed.
Very much not a mustache man. Good evening.
Yeah. Good evening. How are you?
Yeah, not bad.
Very well. You've angled yourself different, like the opposite angle this week.
Yeah, the laptop used to be over there, so I've changed it. I've got a different laptop now. My old one died a bit, so yeah.
Lovely looking corner you got there, previously.
Fine, yeah.
Lovely looking corner.
Lovely light that's a bit crap.
What's on your windowsill there?
Just some shelves. Got my passport. Got my Liverpool membership card.
Only the important things.
Some scissors, a face mask. Yeah, just the usual.
Ready to cut up that Liverpool membership card when Salah leaves at the end of the season.
I could hole punch it. There you go. That's what I got. Yeah. Anyway, move on.
Move on. Okay, I will. Jack, hello. How's it going? And
Hello.
Was it 25 yards?
Sort of.
Come on.
I'd say it was a very, very good 24 yards.
Oh, Chris, I can't believe you lie.
It was good. It was a very good. I'll give him his dues. Usually Chris is the king of the 2-yard tap-ins, but it was a out of the box, definitely outside of the foot, top bins.
Oh.
Celebration was disappointed with. I was expecting with a goal like that to whip his gear off, but he never did. So yeah, it was disappointing.
Take the yellow card, take the fine.
To fair, it was to make it 1-1. It was to make it 1-1. I don't want to go. Otherwise, I would have done the Shefki Kuchi swallow dive.
What is a yellow card these days? Is it still a tenner?
I think it's something like that.
Yeah.
That's a small price to pay.
Score a goal like that. I said usually the king of the 2-yard tap in to score anything outside the box. Chris is just such a rarity. I would have gone mental.
Is that the furthest you've ever scored a goal, Chris?
Probably. Not going to lie, that probably is the furthest I've scored from.
And he didn't even celebrate.
No.
I did. It was a bit muted because, like I said, it was to make it 1-1. Like, need to get the ball back and get the winner.
Classic. That's a real classic one. Grab the ball out the.
Was it like a Gerrard in 2005 where he's going?
Honestly, it was just a standard. It was just a standard finger point, and that. The rest of the team. Going mental, coming over to me, jumping on. He's like, "Come on, I need to get the ball back. We need to get a winner."
How humble
You got to do no, and then a big knee slide. Fuck off, get out of the way.
I can imagine Chris may have done like a Luis Suarez when he scored and celebrated, then no one was near him. It was against Chelsea, I feel. I can't remember who that was against, but he was celebrating in the corner, turned around.
Oh,
no one was with
that
him.
was sad.
That would have been.
I thought you
that
were
wasn't you,
though,
Chris.
thought you were going to go for the one in the Everton game where he dives in front of David Moyes.
Oh, you could have done that. If the Carter manager was a former manager of you, then you could have easily done that. And finally, Ash Barnes. Hello.
Hello.
Are you well?
I am very well. I am slightly concerned. I heard rumours that Louis van Gaal fell off his bike over the weekend and has injured his hip. So he's taken training for the Netherlands like in a golf buggy. Have you seen this? And he's like driving around like the training like centre in a golf buggy. It's amazing. But yeah,
I saw a thing. Yeah, get well soon with Louis van Gaal. I saw a clip of him saying he's got a clean brain or something, and Virgil van Dijk starts laughing. I don't know what it means.
He has not got a clean brain. He is the king of horny football. No way.
Oh no, that is fantastic. Anyway, we're going to call this the international break special of the Early Bar Football Podcast because it is the international break. I feel like we did an international break special like a few weeks ago, which is obviously when the last international break was. But I just don't really like the international break. But what can you do? Let's talk about England qualify for World Cup ? Because they do need at least 1 point against the world's worst football team, the world's worst country football team, according to FIFA, and that is against San Marino, of course. England, they announced the starting 11. Let me run through that, boys, because I don't know if you would have seen that. Oh, okay. Ed, do it. Let's delegate. Ed, take us through the starting 11 today.
In goal, number 1, Aaron Ramsdale.
Tang, you do
it. Ed, I'll correct you. Number 1, Sir Aaron Ramsdale.
Of course.
Apologies, Ramsdale.
Keep going, Ed. Keep going.
Well, no, I've been sacked apparently after 1 minute. 1 second.
No, you carry on. I'd like you to carry on.
Oh, it's in number order though, so that's really annoying.
This is the issue because I didn't want to do that, so that's why I gave it to you.
Trent, Saka, Maguire, Cody, Mings. I presume that's like a back 5, is it? Or 3 with wing backs, maybe. Calvin Phillips, Jude Bellingham, Harry Kane, Phil Foden, Emile Smith-Rowe.
Huge. That's huge.
Harry Maguire, Harry Kane, and Calvin Phillips and Phil Foden are the only ones to keep their place from the previous game.
Should note that Conor Gallagher is on the bench for England. 2 goalkeepers as well, which all the Southgate out fans will be, or Southgate out people will be livid at against San Marino. We're playing such defensive football. Is that 2 central defensive midfielders against San Marino? Phillips is 1. Bellingham, yeah.
Bellingham's more box to box, isn't he?
Yeah. So
Jude Bellingham tonight becomes the 2nd youngest player to reach 10 caps. Can you name who the youngest was? Quite easy.
Wayne Rooney.
Wayne Rooney. Very, very good.
Fantastic. Great trivia. Thanks, Ed.
Great knowledge.
Chris, Emile Smith-Rowe. Are you an Arsenal fan this week? I need to double check.
I'm a part-time Arsenal fan. Bear in mind, Oxford got that great result against Ipswich. 0-0
We'll
draw.
talk about that later.
No cheating involved whatsoever.
Fantastic. But Emile Smith-Rowe playing for England. How do you feel about that? Did he deserve it?
Oh, he 100% deserves it. I mean, it was absolutely ridiculous from Gareth Southgate to not put him in the original squad. It was only because of injuries to... Well, it's only because Mason Mount had to have his wisdom tooth took out that Smith-Rowe got into the squad. But how Smith-Rowe didn't get into the squad before, even before that, is baffling because I think he is the English player with the most goal contributions in the Premier League, and that he has been Arsenal's best player this season. Again, him and Saka been the 2 standout stars, and it's honestly fantastic to see him, finally get recognised. And obviously, he made his debut Friday night. Obviously, under different circumstances, considering England were already 5-0 up, already cruising, and pretty much on the plane to. Well, let's face it, England have qualified for the World Cup.
No, Chris, I've put a question mark there. It's not done and dusted.
Yeah, but come on, we're playing the flipping
respect.
They're playing the flipping postman and accountant from San Marino. They could be playing against me. They could be playing against me, and that. But yeah, no. Obviously, it is great to see Smith Rowe finally get recognised for his talent and that. And I'm hoping he at least gets one tonight. I mean, obviously, I'd hope for a hat trick and that, but I can imagine Harry Kane will probably be a bit greedy, you know. Because to be fair, like Harry Kane, like he's only 9 goals off Rooney's, you know, goal tally and that. So to be fair, you can't blame Harry Kane if he does want to add a few more goals to get even closer to that and overtake Jimmy Greaves and get up to, you know, Michael Owen, Gary Lineker, Bobby Charlton, Sir Bobby Charlton. Sorry, by the way.
Sir Bobby Charlton.
But yeah, no, I'm delighted for Smith Rowe. I'm delighted for Aaron Ramsdale, Sir Aaron Ramsdale too.
I think this loving for Aaron Ramsdale is going a bit too far the other way now.
Sirs going on, Chris.
A lot of sirs going on. Very, very good from you. Ed, I saw an article today, earlier on Twitter, funnily enough, about Trent Alexander-Arnold. I think the quote was something like, is given the chance to prove himself at right back or something.
Yeah, I think I saw that as well.
Did you see that as well? Bit of a funny one, isn't it? Because I don't feel Trent Alexander-Arnold needs to prove himself at right back.
Yeah. And,
thoughts?
I mean, does it count for much if you're proving yourself against San Marino, who Chris have just called a bunch of postmen?
Dear.
Yeah. I think it's going to be an interesting one. He's playing 5 at the back by the looks of it, or 3 at the back, so it gives him a license to get forward. Probably not got to do much defending, so yeah, the onus is on him. In some ways, it's a bit like playing a team that's struggling down the bottom of the Premier League or a team in the FA Cup who are just going to park the bus. And this is where you need players like Trent to really step up and put in a decent delivery or pick somebody out or do something special. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting one.
Very interesting. And Jack, I saw an article again earlier today, which is actually BBC Sport this time, which says that Gareth, as Chris has sort of alluded to, that England will take it very seriously against San Marino, the world's worst football team as a country. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think that's maybe taking it too seriously, or is that just football speak? So just in case something bad does happen, he covers his back. What does that even mean? It's very hollow words, right?
I think so, but I think there's also an element of that he has to send, sort of portray the right attitude to everybody, like fans, to show that they're actually up for every game. And also not show too much disrespect to San Marino. Yeah, they are the worst team, but you know, he's not going to go out and say, "Oh, you know, I'm going to play my third team against San Marino," because that's just a little bit disrespectful. And I think there is an element of covering his back as well, obviously. But to be honest, I think everybody knows that something would have to go colossally wrong for us to lose to San Marino. So I think it literally is just sort of hollow words, really. But it's just, you know, I think an element of. I think with the England job, you have to be a little bit carefuler than you do with being a club manager. I think a lot of it, what you say is, I think it's, even though it's looked into a lot when you're a club manager, I think with England, it's the spotlight, and you have to be very, very careful about how you talk about other nations and how good they are and stuff. So I think he hands are tied pretty much every single game he says is an important game, even though it's not. So, you know, it's a difficult one for him, to be honest.
Very, very interesting. I think it's just football manager talk. I feel, it doesn't really mean much, but he's got to say it, I guess. Anyway, Ash,
working in the public sector, you're well versed at what's BS and what isn't.
No comment.
Yeah,
no comment. I prefer not to speak.
I'm in trouble.
I'm in big trouble. Barnes, no Harry Maguire tonight for England, even though he silences his critics.
He's starting.
Is he?
Yeah, he's not.
Oh yeah, completely lied. This is why I shouldn't be hosting this.
So Ash, there is
Harry Maguire, aren't you?
Yeah, Ash, there is Harry Maguire tonight, even though he silenced his critics.
So Ash, he silences his critics with a goal against Albania. He did the old celebration, which was lovely. My question to you is: can a defender silence critics with goals, or should it be something else? I feel like there's something wrong. It doesn't sit right with me that a defender silences critics with goals. I feel it should be with clean sheets and defensive performances. What is your thoughts as a defender?
So, like, can you imagine, like, Harry Maguire does, like, a massive, like, Sol Campbell never-ending slide tackle on some San Marino striker, and he's like,
Can you imagine?
Going around like cupping the fans. I mean, you're right. At the end of the day, you can't. There's not a lot you can do on international duty if you're Harry Maguire playing Albania and San Marino to silence the critics. I don't know. He's been poor, hasn't he? But I think in this England environment, Maguire, Kane, Sterling, it just gives them more confidence being around people that aren't having the fans aren't having to go at them all the time when they put on the England shirt. They're against easy teams, so it's a nice confidence booster. They're around different people, different setup, less pressure, and I just think those players enjoy it slightly more. But I think with Maguire, he must have planned that. He must have been wanting to do that for ages because he's been getting stick for weeks and weeks now. I think he's just like, before the game, he's thinking, if I score here, I'm going to cut the fans, give them some stick. But it's weird because England fans haven't criticised Maguire really. He was class for us in the
weird.
Euros.
It just doesn't sit right with me, the whole situation.
Who are you silencing? Roy, just personally, Roy Keane looking at him in the box.
Flabbergasted.
Yeah, makes no sense.
Greek police, I think, to be silent.
Oh no!
Allegedly.
Bringing it back. I'm just bringing it back.
Really good.
It's a good point you make, though, Kieran. Like, as a defender, like, when can you really celebrate and silence your critics? You can only really do it with a goal, or like, can you imagine? Like, it does a big goal-saving tackle, goes out for a corner, and he's like, "Yeah, shh." Like, that'd just be weird. The only real thing you can do is maybe a bit of a fist, like punch the air or something.
It's just
as a defender, you're a bit limited.
Yeah.
Imagine at the end of a game after you've kept a clean sheet, and you're going up to the fans like, "Thank you, thank you, thank you."
I think
Kimmich does it though, doesn't he? Not like things in the ear, but he does like the celebrating after tackles and stuff, and all the Bayern Munich defense go a bit mental when they make a big tackle. Because Kimmich is proper animated, isn't he?
I'm furiously trying to Google what passion merchant is in German.
Chiellini and Bonucci at the Euros, going absolutely mental after any tackle they do, like stuff like punching the post and stuff. They love it. That always gets the fans going.
I like the normal old-fashioned goalie taps a defender on the bum, sort of slaps him on the bum, saying good tackle, like they normally do.
Showers.
Yeah. Good old-fashioned one.
Yeah, I see the showers. Yeah, just it's a nice little butt slap.
Letting him know you're there.
Just to let him know you're there. Yeah, you appreciate it.
We appreciate it. Chris, have you had to silence critics before in your career?
What did you say? You had to slap someone on the bum. Have you slapped anyone on the bum, Chris?
Chris is the only striker.
Chris, have you ever been in the showers?
Have you ever slapped anyone on the bum, Chris?
I haven't silenced critics, but I have done something very naughty on the football pitch.
Where is this going?
Ginge played in this
Still
game.
Coming out.
Ginge played in this game. It happened last year. Obviously, we used to play for Tower Hill, another local club, and we was playing against a village called Stonesfield. And we went 1-0 down, and they were giving it all the big uns and that. And then we literally got an equaliser within like the last 5 minutes. And for some reason, the blood rush went to my head, so I went up to a random Stonesfield player, got into his face and went, "Come on!"
Oh, the Martin Keown against Van Nistelrooy.
I wouldn't say silencing critic, mine, but it was a bit of S-housery, as we like to say on this.
Bit of shousery.
Gary Neville would be going, "Ooh."
Yeah, I got away with it. The ref didn't see it, so. And obviously, there's no VAR down at Whitney district level.
Is there not?
Yeah, the Stonesfield player, he was a bit upset with what I did, but
my mate I won't be happy.
Got away with it.
That's fantastic. I only say it, Chris, as you're the only striker on the pod, and I feel like strikers have to silence their critics more often than not.
Yeah, I mean, as a striker, that's what you got. You got to score goals anyway. I mean, because I did score the week previously, and that was my first of the season. Oh. I must admit that was a big sigh of relief. That was a big come on sort of celebration, and that just to let out that pent aggression from missing a lot of chances this season and not scoring. So you just got to put the ball in the back of net as a striker, I mean, all right, you are going to get like some things from like the crowd, and like I said, you are going to get something from the opposition players as well. But end of the day, you just as a striker, you just got to put the ball in back, and you just got to put in a good performance and got to put in 100%. As long as you put in 100%, then people won't really criticize you. And all right, Maguire does try and put in 100%. It's just that I don't know. Like you said, it's weird. In an England shirt, he's fine, whereas in a Manchester United shirt, it's I don't know. I don't know whether it's the pressure of him being the captain, because I didn't like that against Liverpool when he came out and said, "I'm only here because I'm the captain. I need to say something." It's kind of like, well, no, you should. Like you look at someone like Jordan Henderson and Connor Cody. They're willing to speak to the press. They're happy to speak whether they've played well or haven't played well, or whether the team's played well or haven't played well. But whereas Maguire, that like it's just like, oh, I don't really want to be here. And that it's kind of like, well, you got to face the criticism. You're captain at one of the biggest clubs in the world, not just in England. You're captain of one of the biggest clubs in the world. Criticism comes with the job, and the best way to stop people from criticizing you is putting on a performance. Is getting clean sheets, getting Manchester United wins, getting them points, not by scoring a goal against Albania and then going like that to the crowd. Because what does that achieve? That just makes you look like even more of a muppet than what he already is, unfortunately. But
cool, harsh words. Harsh words. Thank you, and thank you for keeping your cool when I changed it to Chris Oliver's street striker, because you were giving some great tips to all the young footballers out there.
Just put it in the goal, lads.
Yeah, just put it in the goal. And thanks to X, initially I couldn't remember what it was, and I didn't want to Google it because I wanted to be attentive to Chris. So thanks to Ed. Oh no, it was Jack in our chat that said Chris Oliver's street striker. But no, that's 2 weeks in a row now you score, Chris. You turned into that man, Chris Olive.
Yeah.
If you score next week, it'll be who else but Chris Olive who scores.
It will be, yeah.
That's fantastic. Let's talk about England. Let's stay on this England topic. There's a few players in this team that don't really obviously start that often, but maybe you could stake a claim for the plane to Qatar. It's always a plane, isn't it? It's never anything else. They're not going to
never a ferry.
Never a ferry or
never a train.
Never a train or a plane.
We're going to go in carpool with some caravans.
I would love it if England went to a game in Brittany Ferries. That would be tremendous.
Bit seasick.
Yeah. Smith throws out with seasickness.
I wonder what will happen if we host a World Cup or a Euros. Like
France, surely
who would get on the plane? There's no plane, right?
France would get on the Eurostar, you'd hope.
They still get on a plane. They'd get they have been in the Premier League. Manchester to Leicester. England got a big away gate in Leicester. Oh, yeah, we'll fly over there.
That's a 10-minute flight, by the way. That's a 10-minute flight. That's a joke.
Well, apparently Norwich is a big destination for planes, isn't it? It is. Premier League teams seem to be allergic to driving to Norwich for some reason. I don't quite know why. Yeah, I don't know why.
Maybe it's superstition.
The lack of motorways, I don't know.
Yeah,
Norwich is so bad that they're like, oh yeah, if we fly there, we'll win. Like it's just.
I've never been to Norwich, but I'm pretty sure it is a nightmare to get to. Like it takes forever.
It's quite far. I've been to Norwich a couple of times.
If we kill the environment, we'll beat Norwich.
Yes, that's a weighing up. But Chris, some of these players, they're probably just here as a token. They've played well, and maybe they'll never play an England game again. Like Lewis Dunk, who played one England game and has never been given a look in, which is such a shame. But do you think any of these players today can realistically stake a claim and be in the England squad, maybe even the starting 11?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, obviously, Harry Kane's captain, and all right, he has not been on form this season, but you look at what he's done in an England shirt, he's been phenomenal. I mean, winning a World Cup Golden Boot, obviously scoring quite a fair few goals at Euro 2020. I mean, he didn't score in the group stage, but when the knockout stages started, he started picking up his goals and that. And like to be fair, like it's a difficult one, the England strongest 11, because the thing with Gareth Southgate, like, I know I'm going to sound very critical of Southgate here, but you can just tell you can like you said about the whole Lewis Dunk thing, you can tell Southgate has his favourites. I mean, how
Tyrone Mings.
Yeah, how he made the squad. I mean, Tyrone Mings is a nice guy, and he's done so much, not just in football, but he's done so much, throughout the
Have you met him, Chris?
And that. But he's massively out of form at Aston Villa. He got dropped, and he's got dropped. He's made mistakes. He's been sent off this season. And you look at someone like Benjamin White at Arsenal. He's been brilliant. And it's like, how can Benjamin White, who's playing for a team that's 5th in the Premier League and playing really well, not get into the England squad, but a player that's hovering above a relegation zone, massively out of form, how can he get into the England squad? So it's a case of like, I don't know, like England's strongest 11, it could be so much stronger in my opinion, and that. But like in terms of like the players playing tonight, I would say Harry Kane. It might be controversial, but I do think when he's on form, and obviously in an England shirt as well, I do think Harry Maguire is one of the better centre backs. I mean, I'd say John Stones is our best centre back. I mean, all right, he does tend to have a bit of a mistake in him still, but I still think Stonesy on his day is one of our better centre backs.
Stonesy.
Yeah, we're good mates, me and old Stonesy.
You're mates with Stonesy, mates with Tyrone.
Yeah, he has a cagoule zipped up to the top and that. But yeah, again, it's like the whole right back argument. I mean, obviously, I'll probably might as well let Ed speak on this more because I know he'd be a bit biased to Trent Alexander-Arnold. And don't get me wrong, like Trent is a fantastic footballer, but you could also make an argument for like Reece James and that. It is difficult in that sense for Gareth Southgate, but like for me, England's strongest 11 is when you can put together the players that are in the best form and that. And unfortunately, Gareth Southgate favours players that he knows and trusts rather than given, even like someone like Gerrard Bowen. Like I was very surprised that he's not got mentioned to this England squad. No, he's been quality for West Ham this season, but it seems that he's nowhere near this squad. Whereas, other players like what was it? Marcus Rashford got called up to the original squad. And that is like, what's all right? Marcus Rashford scored the 3rd goal against the awful Tottenham team, but that's about all he's done this season. I don't know. It just baffles me, Gareth Southgate, and that. But yeah, I'd say like Harry Kane definitely is part of England's strongest 11, but the other players tonight, maybe not.
Ed, in terms of right backs, I can hear Jack's mum in the background. It's fantastic. Chris's mum and now Jack's mum. Hello, Hillary.
Always good timing.
Always good timing. Anyway, Ed, Chris touched upon Trent Alexander-Arnold, and the whole right back sort of debate has, especially in the Euros, that the whole right back debate. England have a wealth of quality at right back. You've got Trent, you've got Kyle Walker, Reece James now, Aaron Wan-Bissaka,
Kieran Trippier,
Tariq Lamptey, Sam Long. Who's the best England right back?
Definitely on Sam Long. Jesus Christ.
I won't take that. Josh Lavey?
Definitely. This is such a tricky one because I think it's down to Reece James and Trent now. I think Kyle Walker, unpopular opinion, but I don't like Kyle Walker. He really infuriates me because he just uses his pace to get out of situations all the time. He'll make a mistake, he'll get caught ball watching, he'll not be in line with the rest of the back 4 or 5, and then because he's so rapid, he just gets himself out of trouble all the time. And also he's getting to that age where he's kicking on a bit now, and we've got, given the wealth of talent you just mentioned that we've got coming through, I think we should prioritise Trent and Reece James more. I think Trent's defending has obviously been scrutinised and questioned in the past. I think it's something that he's massively improved on this season. I remember seeing some stats, I can't remember exactly what they were, but his interceptions and his blocks and his tackles are way up compared to what they were in previous seasons. Having said that, I do think Reece James is still a better defender than he is. He's just physically stronger. I think he reads the game a bit better than Trent does defensively. But then Trent is more likely to have that killer pass in games like tonight and games where teams are going to park the bus, where he can unlock the door and create a chance, whereas Reece James possibly can't do that. I know he's been in great form and he's scored quite a few goals already this season, but yeah, it's just a tricky one, isn't it? And I think if you're in their position, it must be so hard to understand. Not understand, but it must just be frustrating, really. You're playing so well for your club. Trent has, for the last couple of seasons, arguably been one of the best right fullbacks in the world, yet doesn't necessarily start for his country. It's mental. Yeah, that's all I have to say on it, really. Go for Trent and Reece James, interchange them. Just avoid the rest. Aaron Wan-Bissaka can't defend or attack, so please don't get him in the squad.
Okay, Gareth, you hear that? That's his opinion. Jack, you talked about the wealth of attacking options that England have on the last pod.
Oh no!
Oh no!
As the host done a runner,
Jack, you talked about the number of attacking options on the last pod. What do we think the rest of the question was going to be?
Is that what we're going to do? Try and guess what you think?
Yeah,
he said?
I think he was going to say. I think he was going to say, "What's your top front three?" Maybe.
What the top?
Yeah, who's the starting 11 front three for England?
Oh, this is a sticky one. I think that I would go for Sterling, Kane, and Saka. Yeah,
do you have Phil Foden as part of the front three? I think he probably is going to be tonight, but do you have him as part of the midfield three, or if you're playing 5 at the back?
It's a complicated thing because it depends on the formation. I think a lot because with England you've got obviously we are quite flexible in that we can play the 5, you can play the 4-3-3, but it can also transition into having a flat 3 centre backs and then having the wing backs almost playing like midfielders. Yeah. For example, like James and Trent will play really high. So the difficulty is, I think, in a 4-3-3, you have to be a little bit more. The midfield 3 have to be a little bit more defensively minded, which I think Foden's not. You have a little bit more disciplined, and I don't know if you can play Mount and Foden and then like a Rice or a Phillips. I don't think there's just too many. There's not enough help in that middle. So I think for Foden to play in the central of midfield, it's going to have to be in the 5 formation. But I still don't. It's so difficult because he is very good playing off of the right hand side. Really,
you don't think you could have you don't think you could have like a Foden as the attacking midfield player and then like Rice and Phillips, like you said, or Henderson and Rice, or any combination of those 3?
Well, I think the 4-3-3 transitions into almost like a 4-2-3-1, doesn't it? So you have Kane as the basically the number 9, and then you have one of the 3, either the Sterling or the Saka, would drop back into the attacking into the central attacking positions, and you have Rice and Phillips with hold or Henderson, whoever was playing. But I don't know. This is the hardest thing I think for Southgate, is trying to pick the correct
players and formation.
Yeah, I think the formation picks itself because it depends on the like against, like, for example, like a France or a Spain. I think it's much safer us playing the 5, 3 centre backs. But I think against teams that you think are definitely beatable and we shouldn't have too much trouble at the back, then you're obviously going to play the 4-3-3. But I think it's just filling those formations is going to be the hardest thing, because everyone has their opinions on who is the best. But I think Sterling, Kane, and Saka have literally done no wrong in an England shirt, and it proved to pretty much work throughout the whole of the Euros. So I think that would be the start point, and then there's obviously options to change it. And the good thing about those 2 is then they are inverted, so you can come inside and shoot. Whereas if you're playing like a Sancho on the out wide right, it's essentially like an old-fashioned winger, which is not a bad thing, but it's not the sort of style that Southgate wants to play. He quite likes the players coming in from out wide and affecting their game. So I don't know. It's a very difficult one, but that would be my 3.
Kieran, what question were you going to ask?
I was going to ask before my Wi-Fi went down. There's a wealth of attacking options. Who would you pick?
Yes.
You've got Kane, Foden, Smith Rowe. Who'd you pick? And Conor Gallagher's in there as well. So if you guess that correctly, then that just shows.
Yeah, Priestley did get it spot on. To be fair,
as a unit, the early Bath boys are in tune. Telepathically.
No, it's all Ed. It's all Ed. I'm pointing the wrong way. It's all Ed. It's all Ed.
Cheers, Chris.
Fantastic.
You're welcome.
Fantastic. Great stuff. Ash, let's go. Let's move back through the team. If it's going to be a 5 at the back, who are your 3 as a centre back yourself? Who do you think would be the best 3 centre backs that England could pick for England's strongest 11?
Ash will be in there.
Ash will be in there.
James Winchell.
Myself.
Lewis Dunk.
I think
back 3 that is.
Control possession is what that back 3 is giving you. But, what I would say in terms of England's back 3 is the best players probably, I would say, Tomori, Maguire and Stones. I don't think that's...
Tomori's not even in the squad.
Yeah, I don't really understand that from Gareth Southgate. I'm with Gareth on most things, and I'm probably less critical of Gareth than most people. I think he's got us to places where, in my lifetime, anyway, England have never been as good as we are now. And I know we have good players. Well,
for the final, Wembley.
For the final. So I think from that perspective, I think it's hard to criticise Southgate that much on, does he pick X player against Albania and San Marino in games that, although we haven't qualified, don't really matter. But going back to the defenders, it is frustrating that someone like Tomori isn't in, and as we mentioned previously, someone like Tyrone Mings is in. Again, because you don't even see like a future really where Tyrone Mings is going to be. He's not going to start for England, is he, come the next Euros? So it's not even that controversial decision to drop him and pick Tomori, who, let's face it, I think we'd all agree has a much higher ceiling than Mings. So I think that's the best free centre-back. I'm not keen on playing Kyle Walker in that sort of third hybrid centre-back, right-back role. Similar to where it's not just that, he uses his pace to recover quite a lot. It's more that I think he has got a rash moment in him, and in a tense final or a semi-final, I don't necessarily trust him. And I think quite a lot, if you played someone like Tomori, then you have got pace in that position still. So I don't think you necessarily require him to be there. So, but I think that's probably our best free centre backs. But it is a position where below that, I think the drop off is fairly steep in terms of what the next level of centre backs. I know Chris mentioned Ben White, but we're 11 games into the season, so
that also makes it trickier as well, because you're playing 3 of them, and that's the player where we've got the least depth. Bit of a worry. I
think there's a lot of youth quality though. You look at someone like Mark Gay at Crystal Palace, who's been absolutely unbelievable. Like, I think he could really be like a good partner for Tomori, and like you're talking like 5-10 years away, but looking into the future. I mean, Konsa last season I thought was going to be, if he really kicked on this year, but Villa have been a bit underperforming, so it's a bit hard to sort of like, I don't know, put his case forward. But I think if he gets back on track under Gerrard, then there's definitely a case for him, because he definitely is. You can see the potential there of him as well. But I think Priest is right. In the immediate future, we're not like blessed with options. I think that's partly why he plays at 3, because I don't think he can. I don't think we are capable of playing the 2. I don't think we have quite the quality of centre back to play a 2. I don't think, in my opinion.
Paul Merson, you play a 3 because you don't trust the 2. They can't defend.
He's in the room. Yeah, very good. I think we should maybe just play all right backs for an England. I'm pretty sure England could probably play a full right back team.
11. Yeah.
11. Who else we've got? Kyle Walker-Peters is probably still kicking about. Is Livramento English?
He is. Yeah. Livramento is.
Yeah, he's in the 21s, I think. 21 squad. We've lost Matty Cash though, which is a massive shame. Obviously, we're really short on right backs, so
that's a real shame, isn't it?
Yeah,
that is a real shame. Anyway, let's move away from international football. Let's move back to the Premier League quickly, because Steven Gerrard was appointed Aston Villa manager. We haven't even touched upon this. We haven't got, how long have we done? 38 minutes? I don't know how long you want to spend on this. It is kind of old news. But do you boys think it's the right move for Steven Gerrard? No, we were all a bit sceptical, weren't we, of whether this was the right move for Steven Gerrard.
Stevie sceptical.
Stevie sceptical.
We had quite a deep conversation in the chat, didn't we, about whether because he kind of unanimously declined the Newcastle job.
Oh yeah, let's talk about this.
And then he's now taken the Aston Villa job, and we had a real conversation about what his rationale for that would be and which one is a more risky job to take. Tang, why don't you start with your thoughts?
Well, for me, the Newcastle job is risky, obviously, but my my sort of whole argument hinged on the fact that Aston Villa, the expectation of the fans, what are they expecting this year? Obviously, they lost Grealish, but they got a lot of money for him. They spent a lot of money on a lot of decent players, spending 30 million on Bailey. They got Buendia as well. There's a lot of expectation there, even though Jack Grealish has gone. I think a lot of the fans would think, let's kick on. They had a really good season last year. The last couple of seasons, to be fair, have been really good for Aston Villa. But obviously, then some of them be like, "Oh, Jack Grealish has gone. The talisman has gone. Let's just sort of be realistic here." That's what I think. In terms of risk, what is a good job at Aston Villa? I don't know if I can't tell you what's a good job, and I don't know what an Aston Villa fan would say. Whereas for Newcastle, the whole thing is just stay in the Premier League, and then we can kick on and spend £1 billion or whatever in January, in the summer, whatever it is. And he does get that clean slate, but in the summer, if he survives that long, obviously it's Eddie Howe, but he would get that sort of clean slate. So for me, the risk there is, with Villa, because you just don't really know what is a good job. But then obviously Owen put a really good point in of just if you get the richest club in football history relegated, then that's very, very not good. Chris, what's your thoughts on that? On the Newcastle Aston Villa debate for Steven Gerrard, especially.
Well, I think I agreed with Owen, and I thought taking the Newcastle job would be a hell of a lot riskier than taking the Aston Villa. Like just for whether because let's face it, Gerrard's end goal, he is sort of using Aston Villa as a bit of a stepping stone club. Like if he does really well at Aston Villa, obviously you said what is a good job at Aston Villa. A very good job at Aston Villa is sort of getting them back to where they were under Martin O'Neill. So obviously getting into that sort of top 7, getting into Europe, challenging for cups and that. And obviously if he does really well like there, and obviously it makes it easier for him to go to Liverpool and that. But I just think obviously in that case, if he were to go to Newcastle, why would he leave Newcastle if he started doing really well with them? Because he got so much money to spend with them. You could easily chat, because that's the thing. I don't think Liverpool have as much money as what people think they do. I think they're one of them clubs that they definitely. I wouldn't say Liverpool have to sell players to sign players, but they are sort of kind of running that way. I mean, you look at when they got in Van Dijk and Alisson, it weren't because of that. That was what Liverpool made through merchant. I don't know. Obviously, Liverpool do make a lot of money through their global franchise and merchandise and that, but it was mainly funded thanks to selling Coutinho for such a high price and that. And I think people do tend to forget things like that. But and not only that, also I agree with Werner. If you get Newcastle relegated, you're going to have that on the CV for the rest of your career, that you've got the richest club in history relegated. And not only that, you also got to think currently in the short term as well. I think Aston Villa have a good enough squad at this moment in time to turn it around and get a run going, get a few more wins on the board, and that. Whereas Newcastle, I look at their team and I don't like it. I don't like their team.
I don't like what I see.
Yeah. No, don't get me wrong. Obviously, they've got St. Maximin, and if you keep Callum Wilson fit, you've got a very good striker. But again, it's if you keep Callum Wilson fit, and I just look at Eddie Howe's style of football, and I just look at who Newcastle got currently. I'm thinking, Eddie Howe is going to make a lot of changes in January, because I can't see. Don't get me wrong, obviously he had Matt Ritchie, Wilson, Ryan Fraser at Bournemouth with him and that, but I can't see Jeff Hendricks playing an Eddie Howe style way. I can't see, I can't see Federico Fernandez sort of playing like Eddie Howe style.
He could play the Steve Cook role.
Yeah, he could. He could potentially in that, but yeah, no. But it is a massive risk from Gerrard anyway to take the Aston Villa job, because I this might be quite a bold statement, but I think going from Rangers to Liverpool would have been an easier transition than Aston Villa to Liverpool. I mean, all right, the Scottish League is not that competitive compared to the Premier League and that, but you look at the job he done at Rangers, winning the Premier, winning the SPL, doing well in Europe and that. That's I mean, that's what Liverpool want. At the end of the day, they want to win the league, they want to win trophies. They want to do well in Europe. Well, pretty much win the Champions League and that. And I think that's a lot easier to transition from Rangers to Liverpool rather than trying to do that Aston Villa with Liverpool given the competition. But we'll wait and see how he does.
We'll wait and see. Ed, where did you fall on which side of the fence did you fall on this one?
I was with Owen and Chris in that I think it's a tricky one, isn't it? There are pros and cons of both teams, but just like my gut reaction was that Newcastle's a harder job. I like Chris. I look at their squad and there's not a lot of talent in there. They look like a championship club in the making, bar a couple of very good players who are like keeping them in there. Or you could say they're not even keeping them in there at the minute because they've not really got going. It's such a big job now as well, because not only have they got a dreadful squad to work with for the time being, but also the owners are going to really want you to start ramping it up. Like potentially got 200 million to spend in January. There's been a lot of talk in the press and on social media about, even though you've got that much money to spend, will players actually want to come and play for Newcastle? Will clubs even want to negotiate with Newcastle? If they do negotiate with Newcastle, will they hold them to ransom, quite like people do in Manchester United? They always seem to pay a premium for players because clubs know they've got a lot of money. Same with Man City, Real Madrid. So there's that element to it. And if you spend 200 million in January and you still go down, you're going to get sacked because the owners are not going to be pleased with that. So yeah, I just think Newcastle is such, and I said it on the pod, is a real tricky position to try and fill that managerial role because they've got so much pressure. They've got to get it right because of where they are at the minute. I did also say, I think the first time we talked about the Newcastle job on this pod, that I thought Eddie Howe was a good person to take the role, and I still think he is, because I think if he can get them going and sign the right players, get them playing a right brand of football, he should be able to take them out of the relegation zone. And then I think he's more of an appointment for once they avoid relegation. He's a manager that can take them from being like a relegation threatened side to then build on. Like, you think when Bournemouth first came into the Premier League, they were a very good side. The top six, as we call them, sometimes struggled to get points away at Bournemouth. So that's what he needs to build Newcastle into, a side that are feared by the big sides and can pick up decent amount of points against the rest of the Premier League. But that's my only hesitation with Eddie Howe, is can he get them out of that initial relegation scrap with the players he's got? Like we've mentioned, there are players in there that he knows already, which I think is obviously a good thing. But there's a lot of deadwood that needs to be shifted there. In terms of the Aston Villa team, yes, they've got much better players. He's got more to work with, but there are issues there that Gerrard's got to address. Like Kieran said, what is the ambition of Aston Villa? I personally think they want to try and get, in the short to medium term, into a position like West Ham and Leicester are in now, where they're a very good side, clearly got a way of playing, got some very good players in there, and they are teams that the top six don't want to go and play against, and they are knocking on the door of that top six. So that's where I think they need to get to in the short to medium term. How far can they go in the long term? Who knows? Being a manager in the Premier League is not a long-term game, so I don't think he can look that far ahead. In terms of the expectation, I think you could make an argument that yes, they've spent a lot of money, but actually net spend isn't that high because they've got a load of money for Jack Grealish. And also, quite often the argument is that when a new manager comes in, it's not their players. They've not signed those players. So Gerrard could always argue, well, okay, yeah, I'm not doing as well as you maybe hoped, but these aren't my players. I did read that he promised money in January, or money to spend. So we'll see if they bring in anybody in January. But yeah, I think that Newcastle is the riskier job for me. And I know I've spent a long time talking, but the one more thing, the element of jumping to Liverpool, I think I disagree with Chris. I don't think it's an easy transition to go from Rangers to Liverpool, because it's such a culture change. Yes, they play in Europe, but it's a tin pot version of Europe, isn't it? You put the reserves out pretty much. And I think that managerial experience in the Premier League is so important because it's such a different league. Every single Premier League game is a tough game. There's no easy rides. In the Scottish League, 3/4 of the games are easy games. You got a couple of tough ones that are big 6-pointers. That's about it. In terms of which one's a better stepping stone, yeah, that's a tricky one as well, because you could say, yes, Newcastle, he could take them a lot further than he could probably take Aston Villa. But then from a Liverpool point of view, if you see Steven Gerrard take over Newcastle being absolutely terrible and taking them potentially to a point where they're challenging Liverpool, is that better than seeing Steven Gerrard take a poor Aston Villa side and take them to sort of teetering on challenging for the top 6? It's a tricky one. I think they'd probably value him taking Newcastle to real new heights than maybe to mid-table / top 10, top 7 with Aston Villa. I don't know. I'll stop talking. I've been talking for too long.
I just want to make a quick point as to why I also think taking Newcastle would have been riskier than Aston Villa. You look at Aston Villa, like in the background, they have a structure in place with obviously Christian Purslow, and obviously they talk about transfers, whereas Newcastle, they haven't really got anyone like a technical director or like a director of football.
Yeah, they've not got football people, have they? Whereas Perslow's been in the game forever.
Yeah, where it
doesn't mean he's good at it.
Yeah, exactly. But it's kind of like, we've just got loads of money. But you also do need someone in the back and say, right, this is where we need to spend said money, and because I think that is one of the main reasons why Unai Emery turned Newcastle down, was because he saw that there was no structure in place.
Yeah, there's so much extra work you need to do. We talked about that on the pod as well, that it's not just the starting 11 and results on the pitch you've got to do at Newcastle. It's everything else. It's the academy. It's a training ground. You name it. Scouting players. They got nothing.
Jack, I think from what I remember, you said something along the lines of, your argument was based on the lines of Eddie Howe would get, or the Newcastle manager would get a clean slate to start with. And I think you said Gerrard kind of has to work with what he's got. And I think you may have said that made the Villa job a bit harder. Have I correctly?
Yeah, I'm sort of on with you in the set. I think disagree with Ed and Chris and Owen and Josh. The fact that I think, for me, I think the Villa job was harder, because I think getting an Aston Villa team that you will get money, but you think of the amount of money they've spent already and the players they bought in, I don't think they're going to get eye-watering amounts of money to change it. So
it is net though, because they've got 100 million for Grealish. I don't think they've spent more than 100 million.
It's about 80, I think they've spent.
Yeah.
So there's not many £20 million game changers, is there, out there?
True.
That's the difficulty. You're looking at the Championship player for 20 million. So my argument is purely, I think it's actually an easier job keeping Newcastle in the Premier League than it is making Aston Villa a top 6 team with the squad. Because when Aston Villa to get top 6, you look at the players, compare them to the West Hams and the Leicesters. There's not many players in that Aston Villa team that you would swap with any of the Leicester or the West Ham players. And that's the sort of level you want to get to. You have to build that squad. I don't think any of them in that team could really get to that level. Maybe Martinez, Villa goalkeeper. But he's 31. I mean, he's got a couple good years left, but it's going to take at least 2 or 3 years to get to that level. But is he... Watkins is good, but is he a Vardy? Is he an Antonio? Like, he's had a good one season, but has he consistently scored goals? This is all questions that you're only going to find out in the next 3 or 4 years, maybe 5 years, with Watkins because of his age, And I think for Howe, he's got 6 months to keep Newcastle in the league, and then he's pretty much got a blank bit of paper, clean slate to start with, and build what he wants out of it. Whereas Gerrard, I think he's never going to get that clean slate, because they're going to have all these hangers on from the Dean Smith era,
all the Klingons,
and I just think there's a big like style change and transition change. And also, I mean, with Gerrard, it's a difficult one to judge, because I was looking at his Rangers stats, and he's only ever lost 29 games as Rangers manager. He's been in charge for 3 years. Wow. I mean, that either tells you the quality of the manager or the poor league that it's in. I don't really know, because that's unbelievable if you've only lost 30 games in nearly 4 years as a manager. So
it's going to be so interesting, isn't it? Because they've got the job at pretty much the same time. They've got Eddie Howe's probably got more experience than Gerrard, but yeah, it's going to be interesting to see their trajectory over the next over this season and beyond if they get there.
I mean, with Rangers, he's only just won the title last year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they haven't. It's not like they've been dominating Scottish football for the last 5 years. I mean, they've only just won their first title in X amount of years, And I mean, I think, to be honest, I think a lot of the Rangers fans thought that this should have happened 3 years ago. They should have won the title about 2 or 3 years ago. And they've been knocking on the door, but they've lost stupid games and then threw it away. But last year they finally didn't. I mean, admittedly, they didn't lose a game all season, so they did deserve it. But I just don't know if it's. I don't know. It's a real tough one, but I would swing to the side of it. Villa is a harder job, in my opinion.
Interesting. That's me and Jack against Chris Ned there. Ash, you have the deciding vote.
Superb. You'll be happy to know, Tang, that I'm joining you and Jack.
A prestigious club.
A very prestigious club.
Chris is ahead in Little Warnock's here.
Little Warnock.
Chris is done.
Get him off the field!
That will fucking do me. Come on, let's go.
I just think the first thing I want to say is just about the story is it's so annoying how everyone's just assuming that Gerrard is going to go to Liverpool. Do you not think that's really annoying? It's like, stepping stone club. It's just this many years till he goes to Liverpool. It's like it's on a countdown. Like it's on a call somewhere. It's just like 2 years till Liverpool Klopp leaves and Gerrard. Everyone is talking about it.
I don't think there's a lot of people saying that he'll go to Liverpool when Klopp steps down. But I'm not necessarily.
Why? What is the rationale for that?
I think because he's got into management, they just presume that he will at some point manage Liverpool.
Also, because Frank Lampard did do it. And it's just
he did so well.
He did so well. He did so well. He did so well.
If I was Gerrard, I'd steer away from it purely for the fact that I think it's a very dangerous game being a legend and moving into management.
I wouldn't follow. I definitely wouldn't follow Klopp. I wouldn't want to be the next manager to come in after that. He's had so much success.
Well, I fully agree with you in that point, Ed. But I think moving on to the what's riskier, the Villa. I mean, you boys all correctly said how much nicer the current situation is at Aston Villa compared to Newcastle. And I think, for me, that's what changes makes it different going in there, because the expectation is, with Aston Villa, that you should instantly be able to make them better because they've got a better squad. The perception is that they've got a better squad than where they are in the league, and hence that's why Dean Smith's got sacked. And that Gerrard will come in there, instant improvement, and, they'll be knocking on the door for, top 8? What's Aston Villa's ceiling? What probably not going to get top 6, are they? So, what is success for Gerrard? I suppose that's another question that comes from that. And then whereas we have Newcastle with new owners who, let's be honest, don't really seem to know what they're doing. Like, 1 minute they're trying to hire Unai Emery, the next minute they're getting in Eddie Howe, completely different styles of football. They got an awful team, bar St. Maximum. They've not won a game all season, but Eddie Howe is just expected to, come in and change it all and they'll suddenly be fine. I think it's for Eddie Howe, whatever happens this season, even if they get relegated and he manages to not get sacked, that's the key, just don't get sacked, then he can rebuild everything. It's a clean slate. He can build everything sort of exactly how he wants it, whether that's in the Premier League or the Championship. Because the money they have, they will be up there eventually. We don't know how long it's going to take. Could take 5 years, could take 10 years. But eventually, Newcastle will get to the top if they spend the kind of money that, the owners could spend. But that's another thing. They haven't spent any money yet. So this kind of richest club argument kind of feels like, it's kind of like Twitter trolling. Like, the richest club got relegated. Oh. But like, when you actually look in the substance, their team is crap. That's why they're at the bottom and they haven't won any games. It's got nothing to do. They'll be the richest club for half a season.
I think one of the interesting points that's going to be, it remains to be seen, is how they manage Newcastle. Are they going to be a club that gives managers time and says, yeah, okay, we might go down this year, but like you said, at some point we will be very good. It just depends how long it's going to take. Or are they going to be more short-sighted, like Watford are, for example? If Eddie Howe comes in and loses, maybe not loses 10 games on a bounce, but if you get to the end of January, signed a couple of players, and then they are still crap, will they then get rid of him? Is he going to get that license to go down and come back up again? Not sure.
I don't know. But will if two quick points. So if Eddie Howe was to fail at Newcastle, given the current squad, current circumstances that they're in, I still think Eddie Howe would be able to go and get another job in the Premier League. If Steven Gerrard was to fail at Aston Villa, I think his career, where'd you go from there? He's not going to go back to Scotland, I wouldn't have thought. So I think
that would be two occasions where Eddie Howe's got a club relegated from the Prem.
But he got
Bournemouth for quite a while,
promoted through five divisions. So it depends on your opinion. But secondly, if you were say Eddie Howe was to take over Norwich right now, who are all just assuming guaranteed to go down because they're also terrible like Newcastle, you'd say there's no expectation, there's no worries. You don't need to. There's no risk there because if you get relegated, it's not on you because they've already been terrible for first quarter of the season. But for some reason, Newcastle is different because they've had a takeover. Even though you can't spend, we don't even know how much money they will spend till January. And as you said, we don't know what the transfer market how it's gonna work with Newcastle. I know they can pay high wages, high transfer fees. Who will really want to go there if they're still on 2 wins halfway through the season and it's looking highly like they get relegated? So, it's an interesting one. I can see, points to both sides, but I just think Newcastle is if they choose to, I don't know, have faith in Eddie Howe, I suppose, and they just let this season happen. If they get relegated, they get relegated. I think it's less reputationally risky than Aston Villa, where I think if you fail at Aston Villa with the current squad and where they want to go, I think for Gerrard, his managerial career will be in doubt as to his ability. And I think that Liverpool kind of countdown, when's that going to happen? It won't be happening.
What an interesting debate. This is
well, I was going to make one final point as well.
Go on, Chris.
I know you mentioned about fan base and that. Like, you look at Newcastle fans, like they say, we only want a team that tries hard and before. Like that, no doubt, Newcastle fans won't be expecting their club to be in the relegation zone. Like, they'll think, well, we got this much money, we should be. I wouldn't say flying up the table. I think that's a bit too far. But they won't be expecting to be in a relegation battle come May time. Like I
think Newcastle fans knew, similar to Crystal Palace fans with Roy Hodgson, that they were sort of sleepwalking towards a relegation zone. I think they were aware of that, and I wouldn't say that they're sort of agree with you, Chris. I don't think they want to be in a relegation battle, but I think they'll be aware that that was the direction of the club. They obviously made that change. It depends how quickly that sort of decline could be arrested.
They'll be in a battle for sure. They're going to be in a relegation battle.
Yeah,
come May, no doubt. I mean, even if they stay up, they're not going to. How far? They're not going to get top half. Like, it's just not going to happen unless Eddie Howe performs some kind of miracles. But
and then we'll look back on this podcast and
when they sign Haaland in January.
Fantastic.
And Tarkowski. They need a new back four, don't they? Really?
Yeah.
I think they've got some firepower up front. They just look horrendous at the back.
They're going to sign Harry Maguire from Manchester United.
Oh, Josh Leafy is licking his lips.
Instant relegation.
Get
Fred.
Harry Maguire just got like that to Man United when he scored.
Run the length of Old Trafford.
Can you imagine? Clip that as well.
Dives head first into the advertising board and it breaks it.
It does like the Adebayor.
Adebayor front the Stretford end.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, well, that could be a future worth living in. Anyway,
that was bleak, Kieran.
That was really bleak.
Got something you want to talk about?
We could be going to war with Russia next week. Who knows?
Watch out, Hezbollah.
Clip that as well.
Watch out, Hezbollah. Anyway, I couldn't hurt Hezbollah. We've been going off about an hour. I did want to touch on. We've been going off about an hour or so. We could touch on Dean Smith as Norwich manager, but let's leave that until when the Premier League is back, and we can talk about Dean Smith, his opening few days at Norwich, and how he's going to sort of approach his Norwich job. Because we've been going on for quite a while, and I feel quite tired after an hour of debating, and hungry as well. So. Chris, I know you wanted to bring up
5 minutes of poor Wi-Fi as well.
Yeah, 5 minutes of poor Wi-Fi. It's just really sort of funny. Chris, I know you wanted to talk about Oxford beating Ipswich 0-0. I know.
Just before we move on, Oxford, England are already 1-0 up, and guess who scored? The Slabbard himself.
Is there a celebration?
Is it a header?
I don't know.
Fantastic.
Yeah, in front of the two San Marino. Is it Wembley or is it San Marino?
No,
San Marino's away.
Good.
Oh gosh, good.
Just doing that in front of a shed.
Good.
Yeah.
Very good.
In front of the Portaloo in the
corner. Someone just comes up, I'll go back in.
Yeah, God, oh dear.
I'd leave it 5 minutes if I were you.
Been in cat food again.
Don't know why the San Marino fans are from Manchester all of a sudden.
Yeah, who knows?
They're Man United fans.
Oh no. Calling out United.
That's the question. Where can you get a San Marino kit? This is the question. Where do you buy a San Marino kit?
M&M Direct.
M&M Direct. Yeah, that's absolutely superb.
Giacomo.
It'll be from 2016.
Yeah.
Won't be this year's.
Extra small away.
Yeah.
San Marino 2016.
Very, very good. What a kit.
Go on, Chris. Oxford United.
Yeah, there was a video. Oxford S-Howls their way to a 0-0 draw against Ipswich, and to be honest, it was a very un-Oxford performance. Apparently, we were feigning injury, going down, a lot of gamesmanship, a lot of dark arts, and we just seemed to rattle the whole of Ipswich. Ed Sheeran and his mates and his family were fuming, it seemed. There's a video I think we've probably most of us seen of. I don't know who it is, Chris. Maybe you have more context, but it's just the guy that says all Oxford fans should decapitate themselves because they've got such a crap football team. I thought it was decaffeinated at the time, and I was like, I don't even drink coffee.
Yeah.
But yeah, just Chris, what are your thoughts as the part-time Oxford fan there? Just what do you have to say to the people of Ipswich?
I mean, it was. I will admit to Ipswich fans, it was a very unlike Oxford. Pretty much played like Wickham.
Very unlike Oxford.
It was very unlike Oxford and that, but. End of the day, like teams like Ipswich and that, you take a 0-0 because Ipswich. Ipswich fans paint themselves to be like they're the biggest club in League One, and that and to be fair to them, they are a big club in League One, obviously up there with like Sunderland and Portsmouth and that. And like teams at Oxford, we will take because that's the thing. If you want to get into the playoffs, you got to win points. That's football end of the day. You got to win points in that, but especially when you're going against your rivals, if you're not winning games, you got to make sure you don't lose them, and that. Yeah. And the baffling thing is, all right, Ipswich dominated possession, but Oxford had more shots. Oxford had more shots on target.
Yep.
And that, but yeah, apparently we're an awful team, and that. What one pitch that made me laugh? Obviously, Ipswich nickname are the Tractor Boys or something like that. And I just see Oxford fans just put a picture of Terence from Thomas the Tank Engine in tears. And I don't know why, it just really tickled me.
Very good.
Have you seen that video of the Ipswich fan? He's dressed in all in pink. He's got a pink jacket on. And he's going, "Sodding cheats! Sodding cheats!"
He sounds exactly like that as well. Yeah. It's very good.
Yeah. Well, praise be to Carl Robinson.
Praise be to Carl Robinson. Ipswich have a bit of a sort of a Sunderland-esque ego of they are too big for League One, but realistically, they've been in League One for a while now. They should just sort of grow up because they're here. They've got to play us. You should be beating us comfortably.
Yeah, and I mean, it's embarrassing that a club like Oxford has finished above them.
It's embarrassing, isn't it, Chris?
Yeah, it is. But one thing that did make me laugh though was the Paul Cook voice change.
Oh, of course.
I listened to his interview. Like, it gets me every time. It's just
so like, weird. If you haven't seen that.
He's like up there high 1 minute and then he's like down there low the next minute. It's like I can't do a voice change in Scouse accent, but it's
please try.
No, absolutely not.
Anyway, and the last thing from me, I don't know who found the article, so please speak up. But Andy Carroll has signed for Reading apparently as of today. Who was it that found this article?
I was Ed, weren't it?
That was Ed.
I brought it up. Yeah.
It was
Ed.
I don't really know what there is to say. Just
end the podcast.
Yeah, just beware centre-backs in the Championship. Basically.
Love the way they're accumulating aged Premier League players.
Danny Drinkwater,
Gary Cahill,
Baba Rahman.
Yeah,
it's going to be a great side.
Now Andy Carroll,
Anyway, I think that's. Anyone else want to raise anything? Anyone else got one?
Junior Hoylett as well. He's a Premier League legend.
Junior Hoylett.
Junior Hoylett. They've got a very good side for 2012.
Yeah, 2012. Unbelievable squad.
Unbelievable squad. But yeah, has anyone else got anything to say? Because we've been going on for quite a long time now. Does anyone have anything to add? Silence is gone. Yeah, we'll end it there anyway. So yeah, thank you very much for tuning in again, guys. Sorry that one, I started the pod off terribly, which seemed like an age ago, and two, I had a Wi-Fi issue halfway through as well. But I'm sure we'll be back sometime this week, I imagine. Been quite busy. We've all been quite busy. That's why we haven't been able to get on recently. But there's a lot of football to talk about all the time. So it's waving goodbye from me and the Early Bath boys. Goodbye. Please subscribe, follow, like. We're nearly at 50. We're on 47. That's huge. We'll see you guys soon. Bye.
Praise be Hezbollah.
Praise be Hezbollah.